So now that you've got everything clean, it's time to get the new parts. Now for this carburetor here, if you buy a Carb kit from Tecumseh, it's part number 31840, and in the kit you will receive the jet here and the screws as well. So if you are buying the kit, you wouldn't need to clean those, you could throw them out. Now what I'm going to use today is a kit number 631021B, and that includes the O-ring, the gasket, the seat, the needle, and that. I'm also going to put a new bowl because it's not worth cleaning the old one. The part number for the bowl is 631867, and I'm also going to put a new float, and it is part 632019. And the two O-rings that go on the screws, they're number 630740. So what I'm going to do first is grab my idle adjusting screw, make sure the spring's in and the little washer. Then I'm going to insert the little O-ring and then reinsert it into the carb. I'm going to screw it in all the way and then count 3/4 of a turn. So half a turn and another quarter, 3/4. Next I'm going to install the seat and make sure that you put the smooth edge toward the tool or up in the carburetor, and then I'm just going to insert it into the carb. If you don't have this tool, you can use a drill bit and just push it in like that right to the bottom. Now in the kit the needle is separate from this little wire here, so you have to insert it this way so that it's like this. So next grab your needle and insert it into the hole. Point the pin out toward the air breather side. Now insert the float, and you want to grab the wire from the needle in between on the float. You want to make sure that the wire is in this position on the float, in between the tab and the float. Just like that. Now I'm going to install the float pin. You may have to jiggle it a bit, and it's in. Next, you can flip the carburetor over and make sure that the needle is working fine. And for the space in between the float and the carb, you can use a 3/16 bit or 11/64. So that's approximately the distance you need there. If you need to adjust this, you push the tab up to make the float shut a bit sooner. If you want the float to shut the needle a bit later, you would push the tab down. The next thing I'm going to do is grab the fuel mixture screw and install it into the jet. I've got it turned in all the way. Now I'm going to turn it out a turn and a half. 1.5. Now I'm going to reinstall the O-ring on the carb. The back end of the float here goes in line with this part of the carburetor where the needle is. And don't forget the little gasket that goes on the jet. Now tighten this enough, but not too much, because you can easily strip the threads. And there we go, we have a rebuilt carburetor for the Tecumseh 3.5 horsepower. I believe that the 4 horsepower, 6 horsepower, and 7 horsepower have the same carburetor, or very similar. So now I'm going to reinstall it onto the engine. Now get your linkage ready. Make sure it's in the first hole on this lever here. There's actually 2 holes, but you want it in the first one, or where it was previously. So now this linkage here goes like that, right underneath here to the second hole, and then turn it over, and it's in the way it should be at both ends there. Now you'll want to connect the fuel line. Push it in all the way like that. Next you'll want to secure the fuel clip. You'll want to mount the carburetor right on the engine, and remember that the longer screw goes on the bottom and the shorter one on top. And tighten them up evenly. Now this rototiller has the throttle cable over here, so you can try it out to make sure it works. And if it moves like that, then it works good. Next I want to mount the carburetor plate here with the 2 Phillips screws. So I've got it fueled up now with some fresh gas, and I'm going to take it outside and try it out. Give it some choke. Realize on this engine that the air filter is clogged and it's making it run richer. I'm going to show you the difference. I've got the new air filter for that tiller, and it's a Tecumseh filter part number 30727. Anyways, I got a new filter on, and you can see it makes a huge difference. So I've got the power screw under here adjusted at almost 1.5 turns. And I've got the idle mixture screw right here set at 3/4 turn out. And it runs good like that. Well, some of you have asked me in the past, how does the linkage go and the governor on these 3 to 7 horsepower Tecumseh engines? Well, this is a 3.5 horsepower, and all it's got is a linkage from the throttle to the governor arm here, which the governor is tied down here. There's a spring here that goes across to the right hand side, and that spring hooks up to this lever here, which is connected to the throttle mechanism. Now if you want your engine to turn faster when you've got the throttle wide open, you screw in this screw here. If you want it to rev slower at full throttle, you would unscrew it. So it's pretty simple on these engines.